Vegas is refusing to pay for injured police officers and military veterans. So they're going to come in. They're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about policing. We know the division when it comes to law enforcement here and, the Black Lives Matter protests around the country. We all know what took place there. So I'm kind of going to pick their brain on that. And yes, I will ask them about Joe Lombardo as well, who's going to be the next governor of the great state of Nevada. So those two lieutenants will be joining me in studio coming up here at the bottom of the hour. Every time I bring up Donald Trump, and, I haven't really talked about Donald Trump a lot recently, because usually it aggravates me. But should we be surprised that Donald Trump broke bread not only with he's black and he's a hater of black people. I don't even know what else to tell you. Kanye West or Yee, whatever the hell he calls himself. He's an anti-Semitic fool. He's an embarrassment to this country. Clearly, he has some mental issues. But guess who Kanye West was invited to have dinner with? Donald Trump. That's right. Donald Trump invited him. But it gets worse, ladies and gentlemen, because having dinner with Donald Trump was not just Kanye West, but a known white supremacist fool in Nick Fuentes. No relation, by the way, to Daisy Fuentes. I just wanted to be clear on that one. Richard Marks' wife. This is a nationalist, anti-Semitic, hateful human being. And Donald Trump had no problems having dinner. Now, I figured what better person to kind of read Donald Trump's tweets about this, because, of course, he got very defensive. Even some Republicans, I say some, it should be all, but even some Republicans are going after Donald Trump for even being associated with Fuentes, even Kanye West. McCarthy even spoke today. And even though he won't talk about it unless he's asked about it, he did condemn not only the dinner, but even the fact that Donald Trump was willing to sit down and break bread with Kanye West. So this is a guy that I love, Jimmy Kimmel, who, by the way, went to high school here in Las Vegas, worked in radio here in Las Vegas. And I figured what better person to read Donald Trump's tweets, because he makes it funny. This was the way Donald Trump reacted to all the criticism, rightfully so, about breaking bread with a known white supremacist and Kanye West in Jimmy Kimmel's voice. Have a listen to this. So there's a lot to dissect there. I love Jimmy Kimmel because he makes what is very troubling situation. Make no mistake about it, Donald Trump is still the face of the Republican Party. And and by the way, I don't buy that he didn't know this Fuentes guy. Why? Look at Donald Trump's history. When he was running for office in 2016, he was asked about David Duke. David Duke was, the head of the Klan, by the way. And Donald Trump said, I don't know who David Duke is. A year earlier, he did some interviews and he spoke about David Duke, said some actual things about David Duke. And yet, when he's running for office, all of a sudden he doesn't know who David Duke is. Make no mistake about it. Donald Trump knows exactly who this Nick Fuentes guy is, probably agrees with him because I believe Donald Trump is a white supremacist. I really do. He knew who this was. Think about this for a moment. Imagine if you're a Republican. I'm not, but imagine if you are. Or maybe you are a Republican. Imagine if Barack Obama, after his presidency, after the first 4 years, let's call it that. Imagine if Barack Obama had a meal and sat down with a known white supremacist or black supremacist, you name it. How would Republicans be reacting to that? See, the only time Republicans are talking about this is when they're asked about it. Yes, there are a few that denounced it, and I commend them for doing the right thing. But the overwhelming majority of these Republicans are not even talking about this dinner unless they're forced to, unless they're asked about it. McCarthy didn't talk about it until this morning. Why? Because Nancy Pelosi and McCarthy had a closed-door meeting with Joe Biden today. And after the meeting, they held a few press conferences talking about the meeting. And McCarthy only brought it up when he was asked about it. Otherwise, he would have never mentioned anything. This is really important. People like Kanye West and Kyrie Irving, I don't know if I'd put them in the same category as Nick Fuentes, but these people need to be called out. And I don't care whether it's racism or anti-Semitism or hatred towards the gay community or the transgender community. It doesn't matter. We all need to call this out. Unless you're a racist or you're an anti-Semite, then obviously you're not going to call it out. I think a lot of people within the Republican Party don't care. They don't care that Donald Trump sat down and had a meal at Mar-a-Lago with Kanye West. Imagine if it was just Kanye West. That would be bad enough. This is a man who is now on tour. That's right. Kanye West, Ye, or whatever the hell his stupid name is on tour doing a bunch of interviews with a known white supremacist extremist in Nick Fuentes and an anti-Semite. Nick Fuentes, and I've heard of this horrific human being before, is a Holocaust denier. This is one of those people that doesn't believe the Holocaust happens. This happened. This is one of those people that believes that Jews run the world and they're all bad. And Kanye West, after losing all these sponsors and after making these ignorant statements about people of the Jewish faith, decided, hey, I know what I'm going to do now. I'm going to take a white supremacist Jewish hater on tour with me, because this is who Kanye West is. He hates Jewish people. He is an anti-Semite. This is who Nick Fuentes is. So at this time, when all this stuff is going on, and I'm not even going to call it controversy, it's not even really a controversy. It's Kanye West is an anti-Semitic pig. He's just a bastard. I mean, I don't even know what else to say. He's an embarrassment to black people. That's my personal opinion. When you wear a shirt that says White Lives Matter, you are an embarrassment to black people. I would say that if a white person was wearing it, or by the way, if a white person is wearing it, I'd say you're an embarrassment to white people. You know? Kanye, to me, he did this all to himself, but he's making it worse now. He's doubling down on it. And even after all these sponsors have left him, he's now doubling down on his hateful rhetoric towards the Jewish people. So he decides Nick Fuentes is the best person to go on tour with him. You know, if I'm his publicist, I would say, why don't you go on tour with a few rabbis? Why don't you speak at some synagogues? But no, Kanye would never do something like that because he hates the Jewish people. So what does Donald Trump decide to do? Donald Trump decides to break bread with these people because this is who Donald Trump is. Good people on both sides, defending the Confederate flag, all the lawsuits that Donald Trump and his despicable family have had to pay out people over the years for discrimination when it came to housing. Donald Trump is a known anti-Semitic racist. And what do anti-Semites and what do racist people do? They hang out with each other like Klansmen, right? You're not going to find many black people in the Klan. You're not going to find many Jewish people in the Klan. No, it's a bunch of white supremacists. It's a hate group. And that's what they do. They hang around one another. Stephen Miller, there's a perfect example. White supremacist. Donald Trump hires him. Steve Bannon, Donald Trump hires him. Racist people, bad people exist and hang out with other bad people. This was not an accident. Donald Trump knew who he was hanging out with. He knows who Nick Fuentes is because these are his people. For the most part, good people tend to hang out with good people. Bad people tend to hang out with bad people. But the silence, again, on the right is incredible to me. You know, and in damage control, Trump's campaign is now instituting new vetting procedures and gatekeeping efforts as details emerge about this meeting with Fuentes. Well, it's a little bit too late for that, don't you think? I mean, the uproar has been pretty bad, and even McCarthy had to denounce it because there's nobody that can say that this was okay. Nobody. And Donald Trump is extremely defensive, but this is who he is. We shouldn't be surprised. This is who Donald Trump is. By the way, Yee has criticized Trump for not doing enough to help pay the legal bills of those arrested on January 6th. Like many on the far right, that's what they do. They defend those people who injured officers. People died that day, but they want to defend those people, defend those terrorists, defend those criminals. And by the way, Yee said in a video that Donald Trump is really impressed with Nick Fuentes. Really impressed. That's like saying, in my personal opinion, that's like saying you're really impressed with Adolf Hitler. And I know Fuentes hasn't killed 7 million Jews, but he shares some of the same feelings that Adolf Hitler had back in the day. And Yee is probably telling the truth there. He's probably telling the truth that Donald Trump is impressed with Nick Fuentes. By the way, Fuentes said that he praised Trump as his hero and criticized Florida Governor Ron DeSantis for his potential GOP primary challenge to Trump. But he also told him to his face at the dinner that the one-time 2016 insurgent was in danger of becoming a scripted establishment bore who could lose in 2024. Many Republicans, some big-name Republicans, like the former Vice President Mike Pence, have, of course, condemned the dinner, with Pence calling on Trump to apologize, which will absolutely never happen. That's like asking Donald Trump to apologize for what took place on January 6th. That's never going to happen. And I'm getting really sick of Mike Pence. These are empty words, man. That's exactly what this is. These are empty words. And one longtime Trump advisor who didn't want to go on the record criticizing said it was clear that Fuentes' presence was part of a headline-grabbing setup, which I don't see happening at all. The master troll got trolled, this guy said. Kanye punked Trump. No, he didn't. These are two people that are on a tour together. This was right, a month after Kanye West said death con to the people of the Jewish faith. And Kanye hasn't, apologized for really anything. In fact, he's doubling down on it. He's on this tour with this white supremacist. This wasn't anybody being punked. This is who Donald Trump is, quite frankly. And it's hurtful and it's harmful and it's sad. And I said this about Kyrie Irving, too, when he endorsed on Twitter this video that was beyond hateful when it comes to the Jewish people. And I said, this is really important. Why is it important? Well, I'll tell you why it's important. Because there are people that follow Kyrie Irving that believe everything he says. And you're giving people an opportunity to spread hatred and maybe incite violence. When Trump supporters out there learn that not only Donald Trump had dinner with Kanye, but had dinner with this Fuentes, that's giving those people credibility to the Donald Trump supporters. And it's dangerous. And these are very dangerous times that we're living in now. And that's why I find this to be extremely serious. This is who Donald Trump is. And these Republicans out there, many of them, will listen to everything and anything that Donald Trump says. It is a cult, is what it is. And it's extremely dangerous. This guy Fuentes is the worst type of Klan member, if that's even the correct term. He is a known white supremacist. He hates Jewish people. He hates black people, which is beyond interesting that Kanye West is hanging out with this guy and going on tour with him, because I believe Kanye West hates black people too. And these are the types of people that Donald Trump surrounds himself with and has dinner with. Donald Trump isn't having dinner with rabbis or priests, right? Donald Trump isn't having dinner with people that you and I would call heroes, right? War heroes. He goes after John McCain. And he goes after people that are good people, that are heroes, that have done a lot for this country and this community. That is Donald Trump. That is who he is. And it's really sad, and it's really dangerous. And I don't know what else to say other than that. This is who these people are. This is who Donald Trump is. I want to give you a quick update before we get to our guest. I want to give you a quick update on this Club Q murderer. Now we're learning some. And by the way, this was the nightclub where so many people were killed, and at the hands of a murderer who only killed these people because of their sexuality. Now we're learning in documents that cops were on the scene of this killer's. I'm not going to say his name. This killer's mother, when they were warned multiple times to stop yelling or she would be arrested for disorderly conduct. And we're learning that the shooter's mother was arrested for disorderly conduct. Cops say she continued her rant, and when officers tried to arrest her, she became combative and physically resisted them. So the apple, I guess, doesn't far further from the tree, and we're seeing these mass shootings happen all over the country. And this has been going on since Columbine, and it's only getting worse. But nobody wants to address these issues of gun violence in this country. Nobody seems to want to address it. And to me, it's very simple. Republicans and Democrats need to come together to try to find some solutions. So here's what we're going to do, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to take a break. And when we come back, I always love talking to those professionals in law enforcement, whether they're retired or that they're still serving and protecting. I've had Kevin McMahill on my show multiple times. I think Kevin is a great guy. I think he's going to be a good sheriff. I'm not a huge fan of Joe Lombardo, but I don't think the sky's going to fall if Joe Lombardo's when Joe Lombardo's governor either. I'm just not a big fan of Lombardo, and I don't think he's as honest and as forthcoming as he should be when he was sheriff. And I think Kevin McMahill is going to do a better job. But there are a lot of issues within policing. It is one of the most difficult jobs you can ever have. You risk your life every day. I am pro-police. I am also pro-Black Lives Matter because I believe you can do both. And we got two retired lieutenants that are going to be in studio next after we take a break. The city of North Las Vegas, retired North Las Vegas police lieutenants Leonard Cardinal and Will Crespo will be joining us next. And the reason why I wanted to have them in studio, besides talking about policing, besides talking about issues, national issues when it comes to policing, I'll certainly talk to them about that. There's a story out now, and I want to get details from them on that the city of North Las Vegas apparently is refusing to pay for injured police officers and military veterans. If this is true, this is absolutely disgusting. So I wanted to give them an opportunity to talk about this, and we'll take a quick break here, and when we come back, we will be talking to these two retired police lieutenants about this issue and many other issues when it comes to policing. So we'll take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. You are listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey, everybody. A pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn, that true blue New York style pie. Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super hero, that is, because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Look, it's impossible for the average person to find a great attorney out there. There's so much misinformation. Now, let me introduce you to former Chief Deputy District Attorney Thomas Moskal. He was Las Vegas's top DUI prosecutor for years. He prosecuted the most high-profile DUI cases in Clark County. No one knows more about DUI law in Nevada. Just Google it. If you get charged with DUI, whether it's a misdemeanor or even more importantly, a felony, you need Thomas Moskal representing you. His relationships with the prosecutors and judges and his knowledge of DUI law to work for you. So give him a call now or text him at 702-848-5555. It's your life and liberty that's at stake. Don't wait. Call now. That number again, 702-848-5555. Hey everybody, it's Brian Shapiro from Pushing the Limits. I want to tell you guys about Sahara West Urgent Care and Wellness. They're conveniently located on the southwest corner of Sahara and Jones. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. At Sahara West Urgent Care, they'll take care of all your healthcare needs. They offer routine services such as physicals, STD testing, car accident treatment, and work injuries. You name it, they do it. They have on-site x-ray, EKG, ultrasound, and labs. They treat chronic conditions such as asthma, blood pressure, diabetes, and more. They also offer general wellness exams, treatments such as testosterone enhancement and cancer screening. They're located on Sahara, 6125 West Sahara Avenue. Their number is 702-248-0554. And the best part, they accept most major insurances and affordable cash pay prices. Office visits starting at just $95. And I'm also a client, so please give them a call, 702-248-0554.
Experience the Artisan Hotel's themed suites, restaurant, bar, pool, and complimentary valet. During the week, the Artisan is a quiet Las Vegas retreat that's great for travelers and locals. The weekend is all about nonstop partying and the award-winning Artisan nightlife. All rooms include free gym access and Wi-Fi. The Artisan Hotel is centrally located between the Strip and downtown Las Vegas. Book your stay at artisanhotel.com. The Artisan Hotel, your unique Las Vegas boutique hotel.
Hey everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Look, it's impossible for the average person to find a great attorney out there. There's so much misinformation. Now, let me introduce you to former Chief Deputy District Attorney Thomas Moskal. He was Las Vegas's top DUI prosecutor for years. He prosecuted the most high-profile DUI cases in Clark County. No one knows more about DUI law in Nevada. Just Google it. If you get charged with DUI, whether it's a misdemeanor or even more importantly, a felony, you need Thomas Moskal representing you. His relationships with the prosecutors and judges and his knowledge of DUI law to work for you. So give him a call now or text him at 702-848-5555. It's your life and liberty that's at stake. Don't wait. Call now. That number again, 702-848-5555. Hey everybody, it's Brian Shapiro from Pushing the Limits. I want to tell you guys about Sahara West Urgent Care and Wellness. They're conveniently located on the southwest corner of Sahara and Jones. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. At Sahara West Urgent Care, they'll take care of all your healthcare needs. They offer routine services such as physicals, STD testing, car accident treatment, and work injuries. You name it, they do it. They have on-site x-ray, EKG, ultrasound, and labs. They treat chronic conditions such as asthma, blood pressure, diabetes, and more. They also offer general wellness exams, treatments such as testosterone enhancement and cancer screening. They're located on Sahara, 6125 West Sahara Avenue. Their number is 702-248-0554. And the best part, they accept most major insurances and affordable cash pay prices. Office visits starting at just $95. And I'm also a client, so please give them a call, 702-248-0554.
The best choice for convenience, comfort, and value, My Place hotels are ideal for both short-term and long-term travelers. The rooms at My Place features pillow-top mattresses, microfiber bedding, and a variety of soft and firm pillows. All extended stay rooms offer their own kitchen, which includes a full-size refrigerator and a cooktop. On-site laundry facilities are also available for extended stays at pet-friendly My Place hotels. Book your stays online at myplacehotels.com. My Place Hotels, St. George and West Jordan, Utah. Make My Place your place.
Shopping is always easy with the Radio Shopping Show. Whether it's shopping during any one of our live shows right here on AM 1400 or listening live on the KSHP app, you can always call in at 702-221-7283 to pick up great deals with your favorite host. Or shop 24/7 at kshp.com. Go to kshp.com and select Shopper's Guide to browse hundreds of businesses featured on the show. Place your order online and we'll have it shipped right to your front door. With so many possibilities, it's hard not to shop.
Look, it's impossible for the average person to find a great attorney out there. There's so much misinformation. Now, let me introduce you to former Chief Deputy District Attorney Thomas Moskal. He was Las Vegas's top DUI prosecutor for years. He prosecuted the most high-profile DUI cases in Clark County. No one knows more about DUI law in Nevada. Just Google it. If you get charged with DUI, whether it's a misdemeanor or even more importantly, a felony, you need Thomas Moskal representing you. His relationships with the prosecutors and judges and his knowledge of DUI law to work for you. So give him a call now or text him at 702-848-5555. It's your life and liberty that's at stake. Don't wait. Call now. That number again, 702-848-5555. Welcome back to the show. There we go. Now I can hear myself. It is Pushing the Limits here on a Tuesday. I'm so glad that you can join us. And by the way, Michelle Mortensen will be joining us in studio tomorrow, so I certainly look forward to that. Mark Anderson from the Associated Press will be joining us. By the way, you don't have to wear your headset. You can take your headset off. Yeah, we're not going to be anyway, I got two very distinguished and respected former lieutenants here in North Las Vegas that are joining me in studio right now. And I wanted to get them in for a number of different reasons, as I alluded to before. Las Vegas, city of North Las Vegas refusing to pay for injured police officers. This is unbelievable. It's the first time I even heard about this. Joining me right now in studio, Leonard Cardinal and Will Crespo. They are retired North Las Vegas police lieutenants with a plethora of experience. Gentlemen, I do appreciate both of you being here. How are you?
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much for being here. So before I get to this topic, give me a little bit about your experience. You were a lieutenant and you were a police officer, 25 years. Do I have that right?
Yes.
25 years of service. Wow, that's a long time. And yourself, how long have you been, were you an officer?
25 years. I retired as a police lieutenant.
Wow, so both of you combined 50 years of policing. That is pretty cool. Well, thank you so much for serving as an officer. As I tell people all the time, I am pro-police. When I see police officers on the streets or in a restaurant, it happened yesterday. Thank you for what you do. I shake their hand. I'm also pro-Black Lives Matter. I'm not for the organization. I don't care about that. I'm for people who want equality. I'm also for the heroes, and the overwhelming majority of police officers, I believe, are heroes that risk their life every day. So do you guys agree with me on that, that you can be both, right? Yes. Why is it you think we're so, I guess I'm getting into a national topic to start. Why is it that there are so few people, whether they're in the media, on the radio, in general, that can't say that? I'm pro-police and I'm pro-Black Lives Matter.
A lot of times the people in minority have the loudest voices. They cause the most problems. And they had a lot of, demonstrations, and they marched, and it got violent. So, yeah, it got a lot of attention. But I think the majority of the men and women that work in policing, each and every day, they go to their job. They want to do the best they can. They want to help people. They want to protect people. Yeah. The greater majority of the police are those kinds of people. And you have a bad apple here and there. And there's certain people that decide to make not to water down what actually happens in bad situations, but that is not the greater majority of police. It's not an easy job. It's relentless. Will Crespo and I were there for 25 years.
Right.
And when you think about how many days in a row we put the uniform on, it's in the thousands.
Saying that it is a difficult job would be an understatement. I have a lot of respect for law enforcement, but I have to ask you this question. I mean, obviously it was a huge story and people still talk about it. What went through both of your minds when you saw the video for the first time of what happened to George Floyd? What went through your mind when you saw that? Will, I'll start with you. Go ahead.
Obviously, we've had many. I've experienced many situations similar to that.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Wow.
But arresting a person or taking them into custody like that, it doesn't take a lot to me, especially when you have the manpower. Just grab them, pick them up, sit them up, take them in.
So you've had situations, Will, in your 25-year career where you've seen someone, a police officer, putting a knee over someone's neck.
No, I didn't see that. No.
You didn't see that.
So
So when you
I've had
I've had officers take them down and put them on their stomach.
right.
And then we've been trained to know that things can happen, they can asphyxiate. So we, in our practice, when I was working, we, as soon as we could, which was almost immediately, once we got them into handcuffs, we got them off their stomach.
And those officers obviously didn't do that because he was in handcuffs.
Exactly.
Do you agree with the judgment of the jury that was murder, that Derek Chauvin, not the other officers, but Derek Chauvin committed murder? Do you believe Derek Chauvin's a murderer?
The jury got it right.
I believe that jury got it right. I've literally, as a sergeant, had to pull people off the pile.
Really?
That's a true story.
Wow.
Because the adrenaline's pumping and they're in a big fight. And I've actually stepped in the middle of dog piles and told the officers enough, in handcuffs, on the ground. And on one occasion, I did have to grab one by the collar and pull him back off the pile.
You know, what's interesting is me being a white person, as you can see, I'm extremely white. And black people don't want to hear me say this, and I understand that. But I always try to say, even if you think you're dealing with a cop that's a bad cop, that's a dirty cop, maybe even racist, the worst thing you can do is not comply. And I feel like, especially millennials today, they don't want to comply. And that can escalate things, and you're giving an officer an opportunity, if you think he's a bad or she is a bad cop, to pull a trigger. But I look at, a lot of these situations, not all, but a lot of these situations, and it starts with noncompliance. Am I wrong in making that assumption?
Yes, you are.
I am. Oh,
Yes,
okay.
and I'm going to tell you why. At the end of the day, we're professionals.
Right.
So we don't get afforded the opportunity to say, well, since you didn't comply, it's okay for me to.
Oh, I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
I'm just
Well,
saying that it escalates, and it wouldn't escalate if people complied.
But still, it's still escalating. You still have to stay within your use of force.
Sure,
what you've
sure.
been trained. Stay within the law. You're required to do that. You're a professional.
I
So
would
if
say
it
it
does
doesn't-
escalate to that, you still have boundaries
Sure.
in that
It doesn't
escalation.
start with noncompliance because the
Interesting.
greater majority of people in my career have been noncompliant. They're upset, they're drunk, you're in their house, you pull them over, and they don't want to comply. What I found is that if you just take a moment to explain to them, we had a huge fight at a convenience store once. A guy had never been arrested. He was a law-abiding citizen. He got into a fight. And at the end, I asked him why he fought the officers. And he said, I just wanted to know what they were stopping me for. I was in the store. They kept telling me to come outside. If they would have just told
and
me.
they didn't tell them. Yeah.
Right. So
That's
an
interesting.
example of
It's your job to be professional
Yes.
and make sure that things don't escalate. If somebody runs from you, you don't
Exactly.
shoot them. You don't
Exactly.
go crazy, right? Even car chases today. So
Exactly.
I understand what you guys are saying, and you make a good point.
Right.
Yeah.
And because it's easy to have excuses or make excuses for certain use of forces.
Right.
But at the end of the day, we have to be at that higher level of professionalism, and that's what we get the training for.
Sure.
And the responsibility that's given to us by the general public,
Right.
and the country as a whole, is large, and we have to temper that. We have to temper that authority. It has to be tempered, and there's no excuse for going excessive. There's
Can I
no
make a
excuse for
comment
it.
about the George
Sure.
Floyd? Because here was one of the issues that I noticed. George Chauvin had been in trouble many
Derek
times.
Chauvin. Yep.
Other people died, I believe, in a
Correct.
chase or something
Correct.
like that.
He was
Okay.
written up many a times.
So I
Yeah.
think what you're asking is some of the where the problem comes from, the root of the problem. So if he had been in trouble and disciplined 15, 16, 18 times,
Right.
okay,
That's an issue.
because of whoever he was close with or whatever his relationship
Good
was,
point.
and they moved him and buried him, but that's
There
on
needs
the
to be a little bit
administration.
more. I agree. There needs to be a little bit more accountability if an officer does do something wrong. What would you say about those other 3 officers that were there, though? Because they're all going to be spending time in jail.
Well, when you asked the question in the beginning,
Yeah.
that's the first thing I was going to say
Yeah.
is they should not have stood there. And if I were there, if I were on scene, I would have asked him to get off, and if he didn't, I would have had to pull him up, because you're saving someone's life. And the other police would get mad at me, and they would be like, "Why did you get involved?" or whatever. But I can live with that. I'm tough enough. Where
Yeah,
can live with
I
that.
tend to agree with you. By the way, if you're just joining us, we're joined in studio by 2 officers, retired, spent 50 years in North Las Vegas. So certainly a lot of respect to them. We'll get to. I want to talk obviously about the city of North Las Vegas refusing to pay injured officers. We'll get to that, but I wanted to start by just talking about some of the national topics. And by the way, this is local, and I want to share this with you. It's a touchy, horrible subject of a local police officer recently who was just shot and killed. I had his girlfriend in studio. It was a very difficult interview, and I would imagine when you lose an officer, a fallen officer, it has to hit home for you guys, right? It's horrible. It's a terrible tragedy. And here's an officer who had been on the force here in Las Vegas for a very long time, a good cop, trying to de-escalate a situation. What did you make of that whole situation? Did he make any mistakes, too? And I hate to say it like that because he was the victim, but I mean, what did you make of that whole situation?
I don't know the details, but I can tell you I read an article a short time ago about a sergeant who'd been on a very long time approaching a house in a rural area and got shot from the 2nd floor with a hunting rifle in the chest and died. So he went on a domestic, on a disturbance, the most dangerous call. And I don't know the details, but
This was also domestic.
and that's kind of our point. That's why we're here today to talk about Will Crespo, because they won't pay his claim. They refuse to, even though a judge ordered them to. But why don't they have any respect for what he's done? Why do these people have no respect? Because you can get killed in an instant.
Well, let's talk about that then, because this is a story that I was, and we'll get to some of the other topics later then. This was a topic that I was unaware of. Obviously, if you're a decent human being, you would say if an officer is injured in any way, shape, or form, they need to be taken care of, whether that be financially getting the health care that they deserve. I would say that about our members of our military as well, which I am very unhappy with in this country, because we do not treat our veterans like we should. So tell me about this story coming out of the city of North Las Vegas, right? Tell me what is going on and what are your grievances with officers not being treated fairly, injured officers?
My grievance is that there are laws that have been put in place that give us these benefits. We didn't make them up. We didn't just out of nowhere grab something out of the air and say, okay, we should be getting this. These are actual laws that have been passed that say if you've been injured, especially for me, specifically for me, the heart and lung bill has to do with, for police and fire and some first responders, where if you acquire lung disease or heart disease, is automatically attributed to the job. Of course, they put roadblocks in the way to try to figure out ways to not have to honor those, the law, or honor those benefits that you've earned by trying to justify or.
How do you get lung disease from being a cop? Explain that to me.
Well, you could. We've been in situations where there are chemicals around there.
So it's a case by case
basis.
Fair enough.
It could happen. It could happen to
It's
officers.
less likely lungs.
Right.
But I can
heart.
see heart disease. The stress of the job is
Right.
It's unbearable. I couldn't do it. I don't know how you guys were able to do it, but
it affects everyone differently, and everyone handles it differently. And some people get other diseases. Like they get substance abuse and diabetes and PTSD. So a lot of things come from it. But in this specific situation, there's actually a law, the Heart and Lung Bill, which basically says if you develop heart disease, in my case, is automatically attributed to the job, and there's certain benefits that come with it. They take care of you medically, your heart. They cover your heart, anything associated with that. Plus, in my case, which is unique, a bill was passed in 2015 that limited who can get the monetary portion of it after you're retired. So you had to have in 2015 when the law was passed, you had to have at least 20 years on at the time the law was passed in 2015. Well, I had 25 years on.
When did you start to develop this? Was it when you were a cop or after when you?
They
returned?
never found it. We do annual physicals.
This is a difficult thing, right? Because
It
I
has
want
to,
you.
Can I interrupt? It
Yeah.
has to be while you're employed.
Okay.
If it's pre-existing and there's proof that it's pre-existing, then you probably.
This is a difficult thing to prove. I want you to be taken care of. Your service to if you're a good cop, and I would imagine both of you guys are and were, and you both of you have 50 years of experience. I want you to be taken care of. But I also understand if somebody would say, well, how can we prove that this man developed heart disease because of being a police officer, right? So that's just a question that pops up in my head. I want you to be taken care of. You deserve it. Your service to the community, absolutely. But then how do we prove that you developed heart disease?
Well, how about this? How about he has 2 stents in his heart?
I understand.
How
He told me that.
How about
yeah.
a signed letter from a doctor saying that he's permanently totally disabled,
Right.
and has coronary artery disease? So how about the fact that a judge agreed and ordered them to pay them, and they still refused to
But
pay?
before that, and I agree with you. How do you know? How do you just? That's when I had to go see a doctor
Right.
who was sent 1,500 pages of my medical history, and he basically had to come to the conclusion and determine, based on everything that he was sent from the city itself, on all my prior annual physicals, and interviewing me and doing his investigation, he determined that the causation of my heart disease was work related. So it was determined.
I'm
and an
playing
investigation
devil's.
no, you're fine.
Yeah, I'm playing devil's advocate
Yes,
here, which is what I'm doing. I want you. You guys seem like great guys.
right.
I want you to be taken care of. I'm not saying I don't.
No, I know you don't.
What would you say to somebody who would say, "Well, wait a second. You knew what you were getting into. Very dangerous job. Extremely stressful.
Right.
You knew what you were signing up for. Why now do you want to be paid for? I'm
This is
playing
not an
devil-
overreach. This
Yeah.
is the law. The law says.
But when I signed
We
up,
didn't create the law. The law says if you're a cop or a fireman, you have a heart or lung disease,
Right.
it's a legal presumption that it's because you
But
were
let's be
police
clear, though.
or-
If you're shot on the job or you're injured on the job, there is no question you're going to be taken care of, right? We're talking about, like you said, lung disease, heart disease,
Right.
and I think any logical person, I'd like to think of myself as logical, would believe an extremely stressful job. I can't think of a more stressful job than a police officer.
that's what's
It's going to take a toll on your body, right?
right, and that's what's causing the coronary artery disease, the stress, the life endangering situation.
So you take this to court.
not only is the job dangerous,
Right.
but then you get in situations where there's situations that can get you killed, life endangering situations. That's what I'm looking for. So we know those are coming, and those are possibilities. So when you get in those situations, when you get shot at, you could potentially lose your life in those situations.
Sure.
Can you imagine the stress at those times?
Oh, even
on
if-
top of
if
your
You're not
normal
question.
hypervigilant all
day-to-day.
the time, but when you're on duty, you're hypervigilant.
So explain this to me. You develop this heart disease. You have these 2 stints. I'm glad you look like you're someone that's in incredible shape. It's not like, see, I think it'd be different, and I think you both will agree with me on this. You're in good shape when you're a cop, and then you retire, and in 2 or 3 years, you gain 200 pounds, right? That's different.
Right.
It's not the case with you, right?
Right.
That's why I say
And that's why it can't be attributed
Right.
to my diet or my lack of trying
What
to
if somebody
do the
said
right
to you,
things.
your family has a history of heart disease. Maybe it had nothing to do with being a cop. I'm just thinking in my head what the excuses could be to
The
not
law-
pay you.
The law doesn't allow for that.
It doesn't.
It does not allow for that. And in Will Crespo's case, if you don't mind me saying so, they actually questioned his fitness habits. So he provided.
Look at you. I mean, you look like the Incredible
it gets
Hulk over
better.
here.
He provided 7 or 8 years
Yeah.
of visits to the gym.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
There is a
So-
fine line. I'm picturing an officer that weighs 500 pounds and has heart disease. I'm thinking, well, you didn't take care of yourself,
There
right?
you
That's
go.
different.
There-
I'm looking at you, and you're
Right.
extremely physical. Your arms are like the size of my entire body. You take care of yourself. You
Thank you.
obviously work out and stuff, and that's why I say this has to be okay. So let's review.
So that goes to it has
Gotcha.
to be with the job.
Of course.
Exactly.
Of course. I
Right.
understand that.
Right.
So tell me what happened here. You develop heart disease. You have these 2 stents. You have to file a claim with the North Las Vegas Police Department,
The
right?
workers'
in
comp claim.
2019.
You
right.
file a claim. You're already retired, right?
Yes.
You had been retired for 2 years, correct?
I've been retired for 4 years.
Okay,
when it
4
happened.
years. So what happens next?
2019.
You file it. It goes to court. You just said a judge agrees that you should. So
Well,
what
the-
happens
the-
here?
Well, the games start immediately.
Yeah.
They deny the claim. He appeals. The NRS says on a heart and lung claim, if you're denied that and it's not adjudicated within 6 months, it's in NRS, I think it's 657. I can look it up. It says that if it's not adjudicated in 6 months on appeal, that the Division of Industrial Relations has to investigate it. The state has to investigate why it's taking. This is 3 years later. Okay, so all they do is employ stall tactics. They deny, they deny, they deny. They say, let the process play out. Will was patient enough to let the process play out. A judge said, I hereby order you to pay this claim. That's my final decision. And she was nice enough to write out her reasoning, because in 2015, they added a section 14 to the NRS that says you can only get medical benefits from now on. But there was an exception. However, if you have your 20 years in before the signing of this bill, then you will you receive the full package. So they already presented their argument,
Right.
and they lost. And now they're just asking for a motion to stay, and
So they haven't paid you anything to this point.
No.
Andy hasn't worked.
And how many years has this gone on for?
Over 3 years now.
3 years, and you haven't received $1. How is your health right now?
As good as it can be, I guess.
Are you able to exercise and run and with 2 stints? I don't know what.
It's limited. It's
Yeah.
It's definitely limited since I noticed how it's different. Even trying to spend time with my daughter, any kind of physical activity. Even now, I can feel like I lose my breath a little bit.
Are there a lot of
So
other
it just
officers that
happens.
are dealing with? Have you spoken to other officers that are dealing with what you're dealing with?
Yes.
How many you think in North Vegas alone?
Well, we had a sergeant who retired a few years ago who ran 6 miles a day and was as skinny as a rail, and he passed away in Utah in his cabin from a heart attack sitting on the couch. That's a true story.
That's terrible.
Another lieutenant retired shortly after I did, and he was into jujitsu.
Is this how they do things though, like in other precincts in the state of Nevada, or is this just a North Las
This
Vegas
is all
thing?
of Nevada. North Las Vegas is the worst, but this is all of Nevada. It's all shut down. It's a big conglomerate of people that just waste time and waste time and waste time. And we give up our right to sue the insurer in the state of Nevada.
These are big issues. I've had Kevin McMahill in here before, and we talked about the mental issues that police officers have, and this is the part that I really don't understand. And you could be a police officer on the streets and see some of the worst things you've ever seen. Maybe, God forbid, a young girl gets raped and you have to talk to her. Or maybe you see the last moments of somebody's life. Maybe it could be a car accident or a robbery, whatever. And then after that incident, and after you write your report, whatever, then you have to just go back on duty. And I'm thinking to myself, you need to talk to somebody. You shouldn't be working the rest of the day. You should be getting help and talking to somebody. Even if you're able to deal with it, you still should be. And I talked to Kevin about that, and he's going to try to do something about that. I just feel like that is absurd. When you see things that a human being should not see, whether it be body parts, and that's not normal. Human beings shouldn't have to see that every day. And when you see something like that, I don't want that police officer on patrol right after that, because I think that's harmful to you, and it's harmful to the citizens too. You're not in the right frame of mind. Do you agree with me that something needs to be done about that?
I don't know what could be done. I mean, you have to have a certain kind of personality. You need to compartmentalize your emotions and your mental state. I've walked in the house as someone was committing suicide. I've helped fire department pull children out of pools. And then the next call could be an elderly lady who's arguing with her neighbor because the water sprinkler is going on her driveway instead of his driveway. And then after that, you might have a barricade after that. So you have to be cut out for it. You really do. If you're not cut out for it, it can be
But
very
even if you are quote unquote cut out for it, you still need to talk to somebody, in my personal opinion. I think it should be mandatory.
I think the problem that comes with that is just like in the military, I guess, and when you're in there and you report something or you want to report it, what comes with that? There's a stigma to that. Mm-hmm. So now you go out and it may make you appear weaker, or you may even get targeted because now you may become a liability to the department because now they see that you're saying you have some issues or some mental issues.
Right.
So it could be turned
Could
around
cost you
against
your career right
It could
there.
cost you your career.
So we talk about
So how do
this-
you have someone come out and
It's
say
very
okay,
difficult. This is
exactly.
a very difficult issue, but I want officers to get all the help that they need in order to perform their job at a high level. You guys have a high-stress job, life and death in seconds sometimes, where you have to make decisions. I wanted to ask you this, speaking of the stresses of the job, Have both of you ever fired your weapon? 25 years, both of you. Have you guys ever had to fire your weapon?
I only had to fire once.
did?
I was dog was coming at me, but I didn't hit the dog.
Right.
When I fired, it went to like the left side of the dog and it went into the ground.
Absolutely understandable.
And a Rottweiler, he was a big Rottweiler too.
Yeah.
But he took off running, and that was enough
Sure,
to keep him
sure.
from attacking me. But I didn't hit him. But that's the only time.
Obviously, you've had to take your gun out multiple times.
Oh, yeah.
Every night.
Every night.
Multiple
Every night.
times.
Almost
every night. Multiple times.
That is
every
unbelievable
single
because
night.
you only take your gun out when you feel like there could be a
Well, no. Well, let me
Yeah.
explain. We do a lot of burglaries where the door's kicked in, the
Right.
family gets home.
It's
we have
protecting
to clear. We have to clear
yourself
the
and
house.
others. Right,
We have to clear the house. When you
Understood.
clear the house, you pull a gun. If you show up to a barricade or somebody's inside who's
Yeah.
shooting at the family, your gun has to be out. If you
Isn't it true though? When you pull somebody over, you're supposed to have your hand on your gun. Don't
No,
they
that's
train?
not true.
They don't
No.
do that.
No,
Okay, because
that's
I've
not
seen
true.
some officers do that.
sometimes they train them that way, but
Yeah.
I think through experience you learn to relax. You learn that
Right.
if you get wound up, you'll get the person wound up.
So Leonard, did you?
we're not trained to have our weapon.
Of course.
But you have to evaluate the entire situation.
It's pretty incredible, though. 25 years you were serving as an officer, and you never had to fire your weapon. That's a good thing. Leonard, same question.
No, I have not, but I began to squeeze the trigger on a couple of occasions.
Wow, you were close.
I was
what was the closest time where you felt like, wow, I could have just been killed?
I was
Like,
in a foot pursuit, and it was a robbery suspect who had just committed a robbery with a gun.
Right.
And I was chasing him through the yards. It was by Balzar and Comstock in North Las Vegas. And as I was chasing him, I was only maybe 10 feet behind, and I had my gun out because I had a weird feeling. And he reached with his right hand for his waist, and I saw the gun start to come out. And,
Oh my God.
And as
So when
his-
he's reaching for something right there, you are in the right. You can shoot him.
probably could have, probably.
You are in the right.
Yeah, I started.
When someone is saying,
Well, I
put your
saw the
hands
gun.
up, stop, and you see somebody reach, that is reasonable. Reasonably, an officer can take out a gun and shoot somebody for that, right?
I ended up seeing the gun in his right hand, and he was actually flinging it. He was throwing it.
Oh, he's throwing it away.
So as it came
Pretty
around
stupid, though.
above his shoulder, I saw him throw it. But at that point, when I saw the gun, I started to press on the trigger, and that's
and if he
pretty
doesn't
close.
throw it, and if he turns around, he's dead. You're going to shoot him.
As far as scary situations, I don't think. I think we experience a little bit of fear after the situation, because if you hesitate, if you have to go in a house and the husband's shooting up the house and somebody's shot and you have to go in, you don't really have time to think about. You just
What do you
kinda
think is
go.
we talked about this earlier, the hardest calls that you guys have to face?
Children.
Domestic violence, children. Yeah.
For me, without a doubt,
Children,
children. I've had some stuff that just was very difficult to get over.
I had a situation where the kid was maybe 1 or 2, and the sister left the child with his aunt who had some mental issues. And when we got the call and we were looking for the child who was still in diapers, he was holding a baby bottle to his mouth. His whole entire head was covered with blood, and he had an extension cord wrapped around his neck. Thank God he was still alive. But when you see those things, those just stay with you, or those crib deaths, your son infant death syndromes, those can stay with you for a long time.
I listen to
Those are
these.
tough.
I listen to these stories to both of you, and I listen to you guys with combined 50 years of service to the community as law enforcement. And I say to myself, you're the types of people I want to make sure you guys are taken care of. You serve the community. You were good police officers, and you're the types of people that I want. When I talk to, if I see a police officer that's written up 25 times, not a good cop, maybe I feel differently about a police officer like that. But when I see people like you, good officers, you took your job, obviously, both of you, very seriously. You should be taken care of, and nobody should have to push you on. Oh, well, you can't prove if you got heart disease or not, whether you're a police officer or not. It shouldn't come down to that, right? This is what our tax dollars pay for. We don't just pay for police officers to work. Last I checked, we also pay for police officers to retire after.
When
a
you
certain
mention
amount of time.
tax dollars, they're literally taking the citizens' tax dollars and fighting us for 3 or 4 or 5 years, paying attorneys, paying third-party administrators, as they call it,
That's a
on
joke.
cases they know they can't win. They've already been told they can't win.
What a waste of money.
But then they have to pay at the end anyway.
What a waste of money. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a quick break. If you're just joining us, we are speaking with retired North Las Vegas police lieutenants sitting to my right here, Leonard Cardinal and Will Crespo. We were just talking about the issues that Will has had with 2 stints and health issues, and North Las Vegas will not pay him for that, which I find to be, for lack of a better term, despicable. We'll talk a little bit more about that when we come back. I also want to talk to you guys a little bit about guns. We have more gun violence in this country, it seems like, than any other country in the world. I want to talk to you guys about that and many other issues to get to. If you want to give us a call, you can as well, 702-221-7283. Again, that number if you want to give us a call, 702-221-7283. Take a quick break. Be back right after this. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super hero, that is, because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Look, it's impossible for the average person to find a great attorney out there. There's so much misinformation. Now, let me introduce you to former Chief Deputy District Attorney Thomas Moskal. He was Las Vegas's top DUI prosecutor for years. He prosecuted the most high-profile DUI cases in Clark County. No one knows more about DUI law in Nevada. Just Google it. If you get charged with DUI, whether it's a misdemeanor or even more importantly, a felony, you need Thomas Moskal representing you. His relationships with the prosecutors and judges and his knowledge of DUI law to work for you. So give him a call now or text him at 702-848-5555. It's your life and liberty that's at stake. Don't wait. Call now. That number again, 702-848-5555. Hey everybody, it's Brian Shapiro from Pushing the Limits. I want to tell you guys about Sahara West Urgent Care and Wellness. They're conveniently located on the southwest corner of Sahara and Jones. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. At Sahara West Urgent Care, they'll take care of all your healthcare needs. They offer routine services such as physicals, STD testing, car accident treatment, and work injuries. You name it, they do it. They have on-site x-ray, EKG, ultrasound, and labs. They treat chronic conditions such as asthma, blood pressure, diabetes, and more. They also offer general wellness exams and treatments such as testosterone enhancement and cancer screening. They're located on Sahara, 6125 West Sahara Avenue. Their number is 702-248-0554. And the best part, they accept most major insurances and affordable cash pay prices, office visits starting at just $95. And I'm also a client, so please give them a call, 702-248-0554.
As a 3-time international award-winning restaurant, Joe's New York Pizza uses only the freshest and best available ingredients. From giant slices of hand-tossed pie to calzones, strombolis, fingers, and wings, Joe's serves all your favorites. Stop in for a slice at one of their 2 Las Vegas locations at Paradise and Harmon or South Las Vegas Boulevard, or you can check out their menu at joesnewyorkpizzalv.com.
Whether you're a corporate executive, on a family vacation, or just passing through, St. George Inn & Suites will meet your specific needs. It's conveniently located near restaurants.
The world-famous radio shopping show weekday on 1400 KSHP North Las Vegas and KSHP.com.
STN Sports is the only sports betting app you need this season. STN Sports has it all. In-play betting, mobile parlay cards, the Play Plus card to fund and withdraw from anywhere in Nevada, and the latest lines on every game. STN Sports even lets you earn rewards on every bet. Safe and easy betting from your phone or tablet. Go to stationcasinosports.com or sign up at any Station Casino, Fiesta Wildfire, or the El Cortez. Details at the sportsbooks.
A great time!
your entertainment destination, the South Point invites you to experience the ultimate great time under one roof. Bowling, dancing, a live show, a movie, delicious dining, and one of South Point's 11 restaurants. So much to see, so much to do. You won't know where to start first. This week, make it a South Point week and discover for yourself why the South Point is your entertainment destination for a great time.
Best of Las Vegas winners each of the last 2 years. Glazed Donuts is a family business. Taste the passion and quality in each delectable handmade donut. Experience amazing fresh donuts at Glazed Donuts, located at 6545 South Fort Apache Road on the southwest corner of Sunset. Glaze is open every day from 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. If you're interested in large orders, please call them at 702-246-2888. Follow Glaze on Facebook and Instagram, where they're showing off all their delicious treats. And check them out at glazedonutslv.com.
On I believe it's Tuesday, right? I lose track of time sometimes. But we got two heroes in studio, retired North Las Vegas police lieutenants, Leonard Cardinal and Will Crespo, joining us. And we're talking, of course, about North Las Vegas and the situation that Will is in, where he's got two stents, heart issues, and the city of North Las Vegas, even though he's retired, will not pay for his health issues. I want to ask you guys this. I have to, because both of you, what do you guys make of Joe Lombardo? Because I hear some good things, I hear some bad things, and you guys both seem to be pretty honest people. My feelings on Joe Lombardo, I'm a big Kevin fan, Kevin McMahill. I think he's going to be a good sheriff. I think he's a decent man. I'm not a big fan of Joe Lombardo, and the reason why I'm not a big fan is I don't think he's very transparent. I think he's out for himself. I think he doesn't like anybody that challenges him on anything. It's his way or the highway. And I've talked to some people that love him, some people that hate him. Maybe hate's a strong word, but what are your thoughts on Joe Lombardo?
I've met him a couple times. I was a union president for several years for sergeants and lieutenants, so I did have occasion to speak to him. And he basically, it was around 2015 when the Republicans took over the Senate, I think maybe, and the Assembly, and they changed a bunch of laws on collective bargaining. Collective bargaining is important to us. And so he asked me if we supported the changes, which basically watered it down, and I told him I did not. But he made it clear that his position was that he was glad that collective bargaining was going to be.
And you disagreed with him?
I did.
Yeah. Will, what are your thoughts?
Early in my career, we had the opportunity to work together, so I only knew him more like on officer level. I never really got to interact with him later on. Two different departments, obviously. He's the sheriff of Metro, and
Sure.
we have our own chief. So
How would you grade him? I mean, do you think he was a decent sheriff, or
I think he was a decent sheriff.
decent? Yeah, yeah.
I don't.
Would you agree? Decent.
Well, he disbanded several specialized units, and I think that people don't understand how important they are, because not everybody can be a patrol officer. And there were some special units he disbanded, and I think he got some pushback for that. But I think people have to remember that he admittedly is a conservative Republican.
But he's not an extremist,
who got support
right?
from Trump.
He's not. I wouldn't call him an extremist.
Well, you can't
right?
be an extremist as a sheriff.
Well, as a politician, him running for governor, while I disagree with a lot of what he stands for, he's not an election denier. That's a good start. And while he did accept the endorsement of Donald Trump, who I am not a fan of, I never saw him as an election denier and a Kerry Lake or one of these, or a Jim Marchant or one of these people that is an extremist. And that's why I say, while I don't like him personally, I don't think he was a great sheriff. I don't think the sky's falling as governor. I think he'll be fine. Just like, kind of similar to my feelings on Sisolak. I know a lot of people dislike Sisolak. Sisolak conceded. I give him a lot of credit for that. He called Lombardo. You know, I thought Sisolak was okay.
We like Steve Sisolak. He's always been good.
I think he's a decent man. Isn't he a decent man?
And then Lombardo chose Kekeffer as his chief of staff. And if you know Ben at all, he's a pretty fair guy.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. I mean, it doesn't matter whether you're a Republican or Democrat, right? I mean, Sisolak, he did something, and I give him a lot of credit for. He conceded. Even when all the votes hadn't been counted, he called Lombardo and he had a conversation with him. Hey, whatever I can do to help you. We need more decency in our. I think you would agree when it comes to politics, and I think Sisolak is a decent man, and I'm rooting for Lombardo. I hope he does a good
Me too.
job.
Me
Yeah,
too.
and I think Kevin McMahill's going to be a very good sheriff. I know Kevin pretty well, and I think he'll do okay. All right, let's talk to you. I want to talk to you guys about gun control. You know, we have more gun violence in this country than anywhere else, and I hear the word mentally ill, and I'm sure we all could do a better job in dealing with people who are mentally ill, but there's mentally ill people all over the world. What are your thoughts on AR-15s and assault weapons? My opinion is very simple. I think people like you, those who are in law enforcement, our brave men and women in uniform, should be allowed to use any of those weapons. I don't believe assault weapons should be allowed in the general public. So that would be my first question. And my second question is, do you think an 18-year-old should be able to walk into the day he turns 18 and buy as much ammunition and as many AR-15s as they want? Let's start there. I know that's kind of a lot.
You want me to start?
Sure, whatever. Go ahead.
AR-15s are probably not going anywhere for a while. There's about 340 million guns in America. There's only 330 million people. So we're deep into guns. What my opinion is, why would you mind having a background check? Why would anybody mind if it's the legal way to do it? Because criminals get guns through other means. The second thing is, what I don't understand, if I were a legislator, which I'm not, and I've never been, but I would go after the low-hanging fruit. Why don't you go after the AK-47s? You know, that to us, to cops, that's a bad guy gun.
Right.
There's nobody walking around.
You don't need that for hunting.
And and the SKS, and it shoots a 7.62 round, which can probably go through a vest. Why not go after 100-round magazines first? I just went to the store last week, and they got 100-round, 250-round magazines.
I'm with you. Why won't that happen?
But that's low-hanging fruit.
Agreed.
You know, they got rid of the bump stock. Now the bump stock's illegal.
Right.
But now they have some other kind of automatic charging. Yeah. So well, my thing is, if you're going to change things, I don't mind a national background check for everybody, because if you're a law-abiding citizen, you should be able to get your guns. 18-year-olds, the same thing that an 18-year-old thinks is important when they're 18 is not what they're going to think is important when they're 30.
Should the age be raised from 18 to 21?
It should be. I would make it 21, because at 21 you can still buy it. Someone can buy it for you. In this state, you can buy it at 21 and you can gift it to an 18-year-old.
You sound too reasonable. Get out of my studio. No, I'm just kidding. No, but I'm certain, like that. What you just said is all very, very reasonable, and I agree with everything you said. Why is it? And you're a conservative. Is that fair?
I'm actually registered as a Dem, but
you are. Okay.
I have parts of the Republican philosophy I believe in.
Fair enough.
And part of the Dem, the Dem is the union president in me.
Understood. So why is it that Republicans and Democrats can't get together? There are a lot of Republicans that would disagree with a lot of what you just said, which I find to be repulsive, because I think everything you just said makes complete sense. It's fair. But they can't get anything done.
Why not go after the low-hanging fruit that everybody thinks we should?
You know why I think a lot of Republicans won't do any of that? Because they're the back pocket of the NRA.
Well, what they
want the A+ rating.
What they say a lot is that we agree with you, but if we give one thing, you know how they are.
Stupid.
If we give up one gun or one right, it's never going to stop.
That's
and they
not
believe
true.
that.
Yeah, and that's not true. I think that's an excuse for them saying we don't want to do anything about it because we want an A+ rating from the NRA. Now, there are some Republicans that agree with you, but the overwhelming majority of them don't. I haven't talked to one Democrat that would disagree with anything that you just said. Would you agree with what he said?
Yes.
Yeah, you do.
Yes.
So when you look at these mass shootings, and I hate to go back to October 1, but it's like, we had it in our backyard, the biggest mass shooting in the history of this country. We just had this shooting at that nightclub in Colorado, I believe, right, where people were shot just because they were gay. I mean, let's just call it for what it is. And it seems like most of the time it's the same description. And I hate to use color on this, but it's usually a white, young male that is purchasing these weapons, usually legally, and going in there and trying to kill as many people as possible. Same thing with all these school shootings, right? It's usually this. Why is that?
They're always flagged, but not in a real sense. They look up their Facebook after the fact. They look at their Instagram after the fact. And sometimes the FBI had their eye on them. Sometimes local police kind of knew who they were. But then there's the question of mental illness, because that's where this is headed, I assume. But who's going to decide what's mentally ill and what's not? That's the problem. Who's going to decide at what point they're too mentally ill to own weapons and red flag them? And now you're taking away civil rights. But that, in my mind, it hasn't been determined where that line is. Yes, he's mentally ill. Is he mentally ill enough to not give him a weapon? And who decides that?
An argument I hear, and I go back to the shooting in that black church, and the shooter, This was several years back. Dylan, I believe his name was. I don't even want to use their names, but he goes in there and he kills all these innocent black people, right? Horrible hate crime. And then he gets into the police car, and within 30 minutes, an officer asks him, "Are you hungry? Do you want something to eat?" And they buy him Burger King. The argument I hear from a lot of black people is that shooter probably would have been dead. And you look at Kyle Rittenhouse, who I understand he's not a murderer. I believe that was self-defense. I think the jury made the right decision. But he's got his hands in the air and he just shot a couple people and nobody arrests him at the time. The argument I hear from black people is in those types of situations, usually that black person does not get out of that situation alive, yet you see some of these white shooters that are treated differently. Is that fair to say that, or do you disagree with that?
No, it's fair to say that. I think to go back to my situation, and it's tough because when you start assuming that it could be race also related,
right,
then you get accused of using the race card. And it's probably usually a racist that's telling you that.
Yeah.
But they won't admit it. They'll covert.
Yeah.
So they'll try to turn the tables on you. Instead of trying to see it from your eyes or your prism, they'll try to just turn the table and say, here you go, here you are using a race card again. But we're the ones suffering. And like in my situation, I've never seen anyone that looks like me, that has my skin color, that's been given these benefits in North Las Vegas. I've never seen it.
And Will's being polite.
But if I say that, now I'm using the race card. I wasn't going to bring this up.
I don't think you are. I think that's very fair, what you're saying.
And you know what's the sad
fair.
part is? When people in my family or friends that are minorities, black, Hispanic, you name it, they say, of course you're not going to get it. Your last name is Crespo.
So and you believe if you were white,
so
you're saying if you were white, that there's a good chance that you would maybe have these benefits and you'd be treated differently. Well, that's horrible. That's reprehensible. That's terrible. Right. And obviously it's a very difficult thing to prove, but I don't doubt what you are saying. Right. And I'm with you on that. What would you say? I've been in the car with people who are black that are driving. Good friends of mine, by the way, who are in the media here, who have been pulled over, and they've been pulled over, in my opinion, because of the color of their skin. It's nonsense. Right. And I've never been pulled over because of the color of my skin. I've been pulled over because maybe I was speeding, or maybe a taillight is out. And cops, for the most part, have always treated me with respect. I'm also very respectful to them. But what I try to do is I try to listen to people that don't look like me, that have a different upbringing. I try to listen and learn from them. Do you agree with me when I say, and do you agree with black people in America, that there are times that if you are black, there have been at least a couple times in their life where they have been pulled over, they say, because of the color of their skin? Do you believe that as officers of 50 years combined experience? Do you believe that?
I'm sure we have. Yes, I believe that. Definitely.
You do?
Oh,
do
yeah.
you?
Yes.
I believe that 100%. And what Will is not saying is he has contacted the EEOC. But what you don't know is that if you check the record, City of North Las Vegas, multiple discrimination minority complaints, multiple complaints in district court, multiple complaints in EEOC, multiple complaints in HR. And if anybody wants to come on the show and challenge me on that, I've talked to each and every one of those people. Not all of them, but I've talked to the people who have filed those lawsuits, and they've been tied up for I don't even know how many years, just tied up in the system.
Here's the problem, right? And I appreciate both of you, your honesty when it comes to this. The problem, in my opinion, is there are a lot of current officers that will not admit what you just said. They won't admit that because the first step, just like if you're a drug addict, you got to admit there's a problem. I have a problem. There is a problem. And I am not saying all these officers are racist. I would never make that statement, right? But when you know that there's a problem and you both agree there's a problem, you're not going to find a solution if these officers don't admit to the problem. Yes, I do believe that inherently in this country there is systemic racism out there. Do you agree with me on that? That while I don't believe every officer is racist.
Well, let me ask you a question. I was a police lieutenant for several years.
Yep.
I've never been accused of racism in 25 years. And no one on any of my squads as a sergeant or lieutenant was ever accused of racism. Now, is that a reflection on them? Yes, but is it a reflection on me because they knew my reputation? They knew I would not tolerate that?
Absolutely.
They knew I wouldn't tolerate
because
that.
you are a responsible officer who would not tolerate that. Do you believe, as I do, that there are people out there in powerful positions in law enforcement that are not like you? They do tolerate that stuff, and maybe sometimes they even condone it behind closed doors.
And when it goes to the top, the organization's culture, if you believe this, comes from their leadership.
Right.
So if the people at the top, through a wink, wink, nod, nod, system, let let the majority of the people know they can do whatever they want, then you have to go after the administration and hold them accountable. And in America, that's not going to happen, especially not going to happen in Nevada.
What do you say to an African American in this country that would tell you, I don't trust those cops? They're all bad and they're after me because of the color of my skin. How do you talk to somebody like that, and what do you say to them?
I had the opportunity to do that, obviously, over my 25-year career because North Las Vegas is the most diverse city in Nevada. And I had the opportunity, obviously, to work in the city and speak with the community, attend community events, and really get to know the community over my years.
Isn't that key? Right?
Yes,
Because
yes.
I heard about, the whole Ferguson situation was awful because I believe Michael Brown was the criminal there, and he's the one who charged the officer, and that officer was treated unfairly. There's
And
no
I can
question
tell you
about
right
that.
now, I felt a lot of love from everyone in the city of North Las Vegas,
That's
no matter
nice to
what
hear.
race, black, Hispanic, white.
That's nice to
I
hear.
felt
focused
a
on-
lot of love. The black community loved me just like I love them.
They do.
And they do to this day.
He has a very good
nice to hear.
reputation.
The Hispanic community loved me, because I'm Puerto Rican, I speak Spanish. They love me too, and I would go to their establishment, their business establishment, even off duty.
We need
even
more
off duty.
minorities as police officers. Is that
Oh,
fair
we
to
definitely
say?
do. Yes,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
definitely. Fair
We
to
need more
say.
officers, but we need more
officers,
minorities
but
too.
yes.
Female officers. I hear chauvinistic pigs out there that make the statements, "Oh, females shouldn't be cops." I would never make a statement like that. What are your thoughts on female officers?
They do a great job. They're capable of doing the job just as well as we are.
Do you
And I have
believe?
no problem with them?
Do
with
you
that.
believe that somebody, unlike you guys, somebody that is way out of shape? Because you see some officers out there that are way out of shape, and I say, boy, I don't want that guy trying to run down a criminal. We make a joke here and there, but do you think that there should be a standard, a physical standard? There are some standards, I understood, but I see some officers out there that are not in very good shape. I want officers, tell me if you agree with this. I want officers to be paid more, but in return, I believe an officer should have a college education. What do you think about that?
I disagree.
You disagree. Tell me why.
Disagree 100%.
Tell me why.
Some of the smartest people in our country's history didn't have a college education, for one.
True.
Two, some of the smartest people I ever met in the police department didn't have a college education. Then I could say the opposite. Some of the not so smart people, I won't go too far.
No,
but
you're right.
Had college education and didn't mean anything. I
I'll
have
say
some
it.
college. I have some
That's fair.
college. I don't have a degree.
Maybe you'll switch my mind on that.
Yeah.
I'll say
I don't
it's-
have a degree.
well, what about city management?
Yeah.
They
Well,
have more education combined than everybody in the police force combined, including master's degrees and PhDs. And I have asked them, when I was union president, I asked them, I said, if you think this job's so easy, why don't you jump in the car? I won't let anybody get hurt, but you can make the decisions all night. When there's a shooting in the house and a kid comes running out with blood on him, and we get to the door and there's search and seizure issues, and there's policy and procedure and laws and federal laws, I said, I'll sit in the car and you make the decision. Whether or not we do something, and
I wouldn't
remember,
wanna-
you
I
have
wouldn't wanna
to
do that.
and you have to live with it. If your officer or somebody gets killed,
Right.
you have to live with your decision.
That's fair.
And so, I think it's what I said before. I think you have to be cut out for it, educated or not. I think education helps,
It doesn't
with
hurt.
with
Let me
your
ask
work
you-
ethic and your character. But as far as being a
that's
better cop, no.
That's a very fair argument.
Let me ask you this. Would you prefer someone with a 4-year degree or someone with 4 years of military experience?
4 years of military
Do
experience.
you see what I'm getting
Yes,
at?
absolutely. There's no
so
question.
which one, over, I
If
have
you're
4
gonna-
years of
if you're
military.
if you're going to be a police officer, you probably don't need to go to art history classes. I'd
There
rather
you
you
go.
know how to use a weapon and use it well. But I talk about
I
physical-
was a cop in the Air Force.
Right.
So
You served.
4 years before
Right. Thank
that,
you
I
for your
was actually,
service.
thank you.
Yeah.
I was 4 years in the Air Force, and I was a police officer. But does that make me better or lesser? I don't know, but
I think it makes you a better cop.
I don't.
It doesn't matter
it
to the
doesn't-
city.
To me, yeah.
Doesn't matter to the city because military veteran or not, they're still marginalizing him. They're still ignoring him. They're still lying to him.
That's horrible. What is the starting pay for a cop these days in Las Vegas? Like about?
Last I heard, North Las Vegas was around 55,000.
I mean, that's not a ton of
56,
money.
57
Is that enough
maybe.
money for a single person to take care of themselves? Yes. I do believe police officers deserve more money. I really genuinely believe that. If you're a good cop like you guys, I mean, that's not a lot of money.
Well,
No, it
they're
isn't. It
complaining that they
No,
can't
no, it
hire
isn't.
anybody, but other cities are giving bonuses and moving bonuses, and if you live in their city, another bonus, education bonus, and they just refuse to spend the money.
You know, and I think of Shea Michelonis, and I went to a few events raising money for his family. It's just a horror. Here's a young guy, right? Good-looking guy, young guy, just on the force recently, and his life is basically, I hate to say it like this, but it's basically over. He could never walk again. He can't communicate. I mean, what you guys have to go through on a daily basis, it's just $55,000 a year to me is not enough. I mean, listen, I say the same thing. Teachers aren't risking their lives, but about educating, I say make the same argument with teachers and EMT workers who are not paid a lot of money. You know, I mean, across the board, firefighters.
With the multiple times that I've been shot at, that I could have been killed, it was just by the grace of God that the bullet didn't hit me.
Yeah, I've been shot at.
I was shot. My car got shot up during the Rodney King riots while I'm in it and driving down certain streets. And
where was that? Here?
On the west side, yes.
Really?
During the Rodney
So somebody
King
just took out a gun and started shooting at you?
Yeah, they were shooting at us,
Oh,
and
my
my car
God.
got shot up. And then there were times when one time I was on a traffic stop, and a car drove by, and once it got by me, one of the people in the car stood up through the sunroof and started shooting at me.
Oh my God!
So I couldn't chase him because I had to make sure no one in the car that I had stopped on a traffic stop.
And at that time, how much money are you getting paid? Because I would imagine it's gone up a little bit
back
since
then.
then, right?
I was only making maybe $30,000.
Yeah, we started at about 30. I've been shot.
That's a joke.
Yeah,
I was
That's
on
a
Westlake,
joke.
and it is a joke that they start so low now.
You're getting shot at,
They
risking
all-
your life every day, and you're getting paid $15 an hour, basically.
Exactly.
That is a joke. There are 16-year-olds that are getting paid that money for working at fast food restaurants in some places. I mean, listen, things need to change in this country, and it's not going to happen overnight, but people need to speak out about it. Let me ask you both this question, because we're almost out of time here. What do you think is the biggest misconception that people, the general public, have about law enforcement? And what is it that you would want to tell citizens here, whether it be in Las Vegas or across the country, about what you guys have sacrificed and what you have done in your careers? Either of you start. Yeah, either.
I want them to know what they already know. The greater majority of America actually likes their police. They actually support their men and women, and they already know that the majority of them are good people trying their best to protect people. So when you see them, go up and say thank you. I can barely go to a restaurant, you know, an Applebee's or an Olive Garden. Every time we sat down, people would come up to us and thank us on the way out.
That's so nice, and that must mean a lot to you.
Well, you know, it shows that at least somebody out there doesn't have that hatred, and that they should try to understand that spending 25 years, it'd be hard to name something that I haven't seen. And like I said, I've pulled kids out of pool. I've done CPR on babies.
How many lives do you think you've saved in both of your careers?
That I actually had some impact, at least 3 to 5, right?
Wow. That's unbelievable.
I can't.
Actually was
that's
there,
unbelievable.
And if I wasn't there, I believe they would not have made it.
That
at
is
least 3 to 5.
Unbelievable.
Right
That
now.
is why I use the term hero, as I would for our brave men and women in uniform. I mean, what you guys do, it's heroic what you guys do every day. We all have our bad days, right?
Yes.
Some days you're going to be more snippy than others, but you know, that's being a human being. Right. I'll ask you the same question that he just answered eloquently. Like, what do you think is the biggest misconception?
I think the biggest misconception that a lot of people have, especially in the lower income areas, that most police officers came up with a silver spoon in their mouth. And like myself, I was raised
Not me.
Right, and we weren't, and you know, I was raised in the projects actually of New Jersey, and by joining the Air Force and having a great mother, obviously, who instilled in me to be a good person and do the right thing and not to steal, the basic stuff that are the foundation of what I believe makes a good adult. With those things in mind, and joining the Air Force, which I have nothing but great things to say about joining the military, because it helped me, and I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for being in the military, being in the Air Force. And I noticed that when I would talk to people in the community, and I would bring up that, no, I had it hard too. You know, they don't initially they don't believe it, but they don't expect you to say that. So those are some of the misconceptions. But a lot of officers that are out there working hard, they had it pretty rough too coming up, but they didn't use that as an excuse to fail.
Right,
and that's why we try to instill in people that maybe have it tough, harder than most, because there are a lot of people out there like that.
If you were dealt a tough hand, you got to play the hand. We were both born in Newark, New Jersey, and both of us have basically the same conditions. But I want people to try not to be so negative, especially the minority communities and the people that are afraid of the police. You know, try and believe that they're still good people, and
I agree.
give them a chance when you talk to them. Just like we have to give you a chance, give them a chance. Let them see what they're there for. See what kind of person it is.
Right.
Don't automatically assume and let it escalate without even talking to the person.
And while it's important to call out bad policing, I think part of the responsibility of being in the media is also calling out good policing, which I also try to do. You know, we hear about all these horrible situations, but yet we don't talk about people like yourselves who save lives every day, and I try to do that. Well, listen, I hope you get the right judgment here, and I hope eventually North Las Vegas has to pay you for the health issues that you have. Clearly you deserve it. Clearly both of you are good men who serve this community honorably as in law enforcement, and it's people like you that I want to be taken care of. I say the same thing about our brave men and women in uniform who risked their life for this country, and you served. So I appreciate both of you being here. I appreciate your candidness. I think more conversations like this need to happen.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. And you guys are welcome back. If there's anything I can do to help you, let me know, please. And you guys are welcome back anytime. I appreciate it. That is former retired North Las Vegas police lieutenants Will Crespo and Leonard Cardinal. Will continue to monitor this story, and I appreciate both of these brave men coming in studio and talking to me about these very important issues. Okay, it's always weird to make the transition from these so important issues to a UNLV football coach, but Mark Anderson from the Associated Press will be joining us next. UNLV now on the search for a new head coach at UNLV. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP. Hey everybody, it's Brian Shapiro from Pushing the Limits. I want to tell you guys about Sahara West Urgent Care and Wellness. They're conveniently located on the southwest corner of Sahara and Jones. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. At Sahara West Urgent Care, they'll take care of all your healthcare needs. They offer routine services such as physicals, STD testing, car accident treatment, and work injuries. You name it, they do it. They have on-site x-ray, EKG, ultrasound, and labs. They treat chronic conditions such as asthma, blood pressure, diabetes, and more. They also offer general wellness exams and treatments such as testosterone enhancement and cancer screening. They're located on Sahara, 6125 West Sahara Avenue. Their number is 702-248-0554. And the best part, they accept most major insurances and affordable cash pay prices, office visits starting at just $95. And I'm also a client, so please give them a call, 702-248-0554. Look, it's impossible for the average person to find a great attorney out there. There's so much misinformation. Now, let me introduce you to former Chief Deputy District Attorney Thomas Moskal. He was Las Vegas's top DUI prosecutor for years. He prosecuted the most high-profile DUI cases in Clark County. No one knows more about DUI law in Nevada. Just Google it. If you get charged with DUI, whether it's a misdemeanor or even more importantly, a felony, you need Thomas Moskal representing you. His relationships with the prosecutors and judges and his knowledge of DUI law to work for you. So give him a call now or text him at 702-848-5555. It's your life and liberty that's at stake. Don't wait. Call now. That number again, 702-848-5555.
Experience the Artisan Hotel's themed suites, restaurant, bar, pool, and complimentary valet. During the week, the Artisan is a quiet Las Vegas retreat that's great for travelers and locals. The weekend is all about nonstop partying and the award-winning Artisan nightlife. All rooms include free gym access and Wi-Fi. The Artisan Hotel is centrally located between the Strip and downtown Las Vegas. Book your stay at artisanhotel.com. The Artisan Hotel, your unique Las Vegas boutique hotel.
The best choice for convenience, comfort, and value, My Place hotels are ideal for both short-term and long-term travelers. The rooms at My Place features pillow-top mattresses, microfiber bedding, and a variety of soft and firm pillows. All extended stay rooms offer their own kitchen, which includes a full-size refrigerator and a cooktop. On-site laundry facilities are also available for extended stays at pet-friendly My Place hotels. Book your stays online at myplacehotels.com. My Place Hotels, St. George and West Jordan, Utah. Make My Place your place.
Shopping is always easy with the Radio Shopping Show. Whether it's shopping during any one of our live shows right here on AM 1400 or listening live on the KSHP app, you can always call in at 702-221-7283 to pick up great deals with your favorite host. Or shop 24/7 at kshp.com. Go to kshp.com and select Shopper's Guide to browse hundreds of businesses featured on the show. Place your order online and we'll have it shipped right to your front door. With so many possibilities, it's hard not to shop.
As a 3-time international award-winning restaurant, Joe's New York Pizza uses only the freshest and best available ingredients. From giant slices of hand-tossed pie to calzone, strombolis, fingers, and wings, Joe's serves all your favorites. Stop in for a slice at one of their 2 Las Vegas locations at Paradise and Harmon or South Las Vegas Boulevard, or you can check out their menu at joesnewyorkpizzalv.com.
Whether you're a corporate executive, on a family vacation, or just passing through, St. George Inn & Suites will meet your specific needs. It's conveniently located near restaurants, shopping, and movie theaters. St. George Inn & Suites offers a variety of room types, 2 fabulous pools and jacuzzis, a fitness center, a free full hot buffet breakfast, and laundry facilities. To make your booking, call 435-673-6661 or book online at stgeorgeinnhotel.com. You need to stop in Southern Utah? Make that stop at St. George Inn & Suites.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Tuesday. So glad you could join us. Switching to sports now, of course, the breaking news that came out yesterday was that UNLV football firing head coach Marcus Arroyo. So the guy joining us right now on the line, what better person to talk about UNLV? He's covered UNLV for years. I'm talking, of course, about my friend Mark Anderson from the Associated Press, who joins us right now on the line. Mark, I appreciate you being here, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing well, Brian. How you doing?
Doing okay. I appreciate you coming on. So first reaction, Mark. What was your first reaction when you heard that Harper had let Marcus Arroyo go?
I was surprised on the timing. Usually the coaches will get, every coach I've covered at UNLV got at least 5 years. And I didn't know that Arroyo would get 5, but I figured he'd at least get 4, especially, they did have they showed some improvement, but I think that Harper was looking at the long-term trajectory and saw how the season ended. And even the last win against Reno was just, it's one of the worst teams in the country, and they still almost lost that game. They lost to just a lousy team in Hawaii the week before. So I just think Harper was looking at the big picture. And he's also looking, with the transfer portal now, I would imagine that, because you can turn it around so much quicker, that he's probably thinking that you can bring someone in and engineer a much quicker turnaround than you could used to. And so coaches don't get as much time to show what they can do anymore. So my guess is that's what was going through his mind.
I tend to agree with everything you just said. Do you feel like, because I feel like Harper made this decision after the Hawaii game, and I feel like even if UNLV won against UNR by 4 touchdowns, maybe a little bit more difficult of a decision, but I feel like he made this decision after Hawaii. What do you think?
Yeah, he almost kind of hinted. He kind of hinted at that yesterday. That Hawaii was sort of the point where he came to that decision. I think he was probably already going down that road anyway, and then the performance of Hawaii he probably had his mind made up that it just doesn't matter. They got to move on at this point. And one major mistake that Marcus Arroyo made when he got here, he didn't understand the community, and Las Vegas is a place where relationships really matter. And he came in. He got rid of some people who've been in the athletic department he had really no reason to fire them. That created a lot of ill will. He didn't reach out to the local high school football coaches. That created major problems. I think the boosters felt disconnected from him. So when the time came to where it's sort of a 50-50 proposition where you bring him back or not, that's where the allies really matter, and that's where people could have gone to Eric Harper and say, you know what, give him another year. Let's see what he can do.
Right.
I don't know that he had anyone step up in his defense, and so I think that really hurt him.
I agree again. I mean, I feel like that's why Sanchez got more time. Houck got more time. I know that Houck, got us to a ball game. I understand that. And Sanchez, people make it out that Arroyo took over a horrendous team. Remember the year before, Mark, as you know, Sanchez won 4 games, and I know that's not exactly where UNLV wants to be, but it's not like Arroyo took over. I understand there was COVID, but it's not. These are the 3 excuses, Mark, that I hear from people that disagree with this decision. They talk about year 1 COVID, and my response to them is, okay, did his team get better from beginning to end of the year? The answer is no. Everybody had to deal with COVID. That's what some of the people that disagree with this decision, they'll talk about that, right? They'll talk about, oh, you're only giving him 3 years. He has improvement from 0 wins to 2 wins to 5 wins. They'll talk about that. Those are kind of like the excuses that I hear. And then I hear them talking about how Harper held the press conference as they were painting the cannon red. And I'm thinking to myself, who cares? Make the announcement and let's get a new guy in there. Those are the main excuses I hear from people that think that Harper made the wrong decision. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean the COVID thing, everyone had to deal with that. It wasn't like that was unique to UNLV. And I'm with you. I mean, Sanchez was winning 4 or 5 games a year. So I remember when Arroyo was hired, the idea was, well, Sanchez can't take us to the next level, but Arroyo can. And that's what he was there to do, was take UNLV to the next level, not tear it down and kind of and start all over again. And so I think, so he finally got him to 4 wins. Well, he got him basically to the level Sanchez had him before. So there really, when you look at it that way, there really was no improvement.
Yeah.
And I thought Tony Sanchez should have gotten at least 1 more year because he got that Fertitta building built. I thought he never really had a chance to recruit to it. I thought give him at least 1 year to recruit to it, see how he does, and then if you're not happy with him, then move on.
Agree.
But I think Desiree Reed-Francois at the time was so determined to hire her own person that she was looking for any reason to make a move, and when he didn't get him to a bowl game, that was all the justification she needed.
I agree with you again, and if anything, Tony Sanchez was the opposite of Marcus Arroyo when it comes to personality. I think you'll agree with me. He was better with the media. He was better within the community. Of course, being a former coach at Bishop Gorman, he knew this community. He was more active within the high schools here in Las Vegas. Arroyo, it's interesting. Harper said he didn't have one conversation with one high school coach all year. And he said, listen, he said that in the press conference yesterday. And he said, listen, that's not my job. I'm not going to tell Arroyo how to recruit. I'm kind of paraphrasing here. I'm not going to tell him how to recruit. I'm not going to tell him how to do his job. But Arroyo, not only not being involved with the community, he wasn't really active in recruiting local kids either. And he was bad with the media. And I don't know if you agree on this. I don't want to make this personal, but, sometimes I bring these things up. To me, and from former players that I've talked to that have played for Arroyo, and even a few current players off the record have told me, basically that Arroyo conducted himself like he was he just won the national championship, that he had this aura about him, that it was his way or the highway, and that he was this accomplished head coach when he hasn't really accomplished anything as a head coach yet. Have you heard the same, and what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, he came in here, and I think he came in thinking he was just going to turn things around, and as long as he won, it didn't really matter what people thought of him personally, because he'd win enough that would just become irrelevant. So I do think I do think there was a sort of an arrogance there, not really understanding what really needed to be done with this program, thinking he could just wave his wand and it would be just because it was him waving it that make all the difference. So. Yeah, I didn't deal with him much because I left covering the program shortly after he got hired, so I can't really speak too much to media relations. I haven't heard great things. I heard it was much more restrictive than previous years, and I will say Tony Sanchez is as good a coach as you can deal with from a media standpoint.
Agree 100%.
Yeah.
I never had any issues with Bobby Houck either.
No, I get along great to this day. I mean, I could text Bobby today, and he'd get back to me probably within 24 hours. Just to, for anything. And so it's Bobby was great. They generally have had really good coaches to deal with here. That really hasn't been the problem. This is probably the first time this has happened.
And, I look at the both basketball programs, men and women. We know what a great job LaRocca has done with the women's program. Getting them to the NCAA tournament, that was a big deal, winning the conference. She has done a phenomenal job, and she's turned the program around. Kevin Kruger. At first, I wasn't real high on the hire, even though I love Kevin personally. He's a great guy. But then when I heard Lon Kruger was going to be around, I said, you know what, this thing might work. And you look at the wins that Kevin has had. Beating Minnesota is a big deal. It's a good basketball team. And obviously beating a top 25 team at home is also a big deal, at least at the time they were top 25 in Dayton. So, men's and women's programs are doing just fine right now. But moving forward now with the football program, Mark, you heard what the AD said about the type of coach that they want to hire. I agree with what he said. You want to get somebody with some head coaching experience at the college level. Have you come up with any names that you think people that you would like to see them hire as the next UNLV head football coach?
There are a couple that really stand out to me. One is Brian Harsin, and I know it was a disaster at Auburn. I get that, but he did a pretty strong job at Boise. The one argument against him at Boise is he took over Chris Peterson's program and basically kept it afloat. So I can understand that argument. If you're talking about somebody who's taken a program and truly built it, Gary Patterson's a name I've heard. And I'm sure he wants to get back into being a head coach again. What he did at TCU was just phenomenal. Could he get that done at UNLV? I don't know. It's a different program. He's in a different stage in his life, and football coaching is always changing. I would have a question about that. But those are two names that kind of get my attention a little bit. The name that's kind of thrown out on Twitter, but I don't think anyone believes he'd come here, is Deion Sanders. And
I've heard that. Yeah.
I think he would be a home run hire. I just don't see him coming here.
No, I see that as when Rick Pitino was brought up for the new, basketball coach. It'd be a slam dunk hire, but does he really want to come here? I feel the same way about Deion Sanders. All right, I'm going to give you another pipe dream name, and I know this is not going to happen, and it is a pipe dream. John Gruden.
Yeah, I know. I don't think it's going to happen either.
Yeah.
And UNLV would have to explain why they're hiring a coach who had those emails.
Right.
Now, the one thing that would help you, and that's that standpoint, is they have a black athletic director and a black president, and so if they both sign off on it, that would give John Gruden a ton of cover. But I still think it would probably cause more questions than they'd want to deal with.
You're probably right, but it would definitely get more butts in the seat, right? I mean, you're playing at Allegiant Stadium. Deion Sanders isn't going to come here, but can you imagine if he did? Just from a national level, that story would be a big story, and you'd get butts in the seats, right? I mean, I don't know. Yeah. I just think when you look at the attendance hasn't been great. That hasn't been very good. You're playing at Allegiant Stadium, and the entire upper bowl is closed down. It's empty, and you can't even fill the lower bowl. They have to find a way to make money, right, Mark? I mean, this football program is oozing money. They are losing money, and now you got to pay off Arroyo $2.3 million on his contract. Money doesn't grow, on trees, as my mom always used to tell me growing up. Somebody has to pay that, and you got to pay it. If you're gonna, those names that you mentioned, Mark, I'm all for it. I think those would be two great candidates, but you're going to have to pay them, right?
Yeah, they're going to have to pay someone big money anyway. I mean, because they set the precedent with Arroyo by giving them that huge contract, so you can't really go backward on that. Mm-hmm. And and I know that this is all privately raised, the paying off Arroyo and paying for the new coach. But man, they're going to have to do some serious fundraising.
You're going to
get that money. So or they're going to have to take cuts in certain places they probably don't want to take cuts in. So but you know what? In 2022, if you want to win at the high level, that's what you got to do.
So Phil,
they just got to find a way to do it, and if they do win big, then they'll make it back.
Agree. Fill in these blanks for me here. Whoever they hire as the next head coach, if the head coach is going to get us to a bowl, I shouldn't say us, get UNLV football to a bowl game within a few years, he is going to have to do what?
Oh, well, that's a good question. So I actually think they have some decent players in this program. Recruiting is always number one. I guess probably the big thing is hit the transfer portal hard. That seems to be the key now in major college sports. Is how well do you do in the transfer portal, especially to turn this thing around quickly? Because I like Brumfield. I think he's got a lot of talent. You just can't trust that he's going to stay healthy. And so I think if they can get a quarterback, and I don't know the guys behind him are really capable of taking them to the level they want to go, frankly. So I think if they can go get maybe find a quarterback out of the portal who can come in right away and really take advantage of the talent around him, because there's talent. There's some pretty good talent on that team. Then I think that's probably the major thing that needs to happen. I mean, if you told me today that, okay, Brumfield's going to be healthy all next season, it's like, okay, don't even worry about that, because I think you saw early in the season what he's capable of. I think at the end of the season he came back from injury. I just don't think he was ever himself again. Yeah. But I just don't trust him to be healthy. Yeah. And so I think you got to go get a quarterback.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. You need to go get a quarterback, and let's see a year where the team doesn't regress, right? I mean, year one under Arroyo, team didn't get better. Year two under Arroyo, I know they won a couple games late in the year, but I don't think that team got necessarily better. And then I look at this year, losing 6 of their last 7 games, regardless of injuries, this team didn't get better. So I think you need to find a coach that just knows how to make teams better from start to the end of the year. I mean, that's in any sport, right? That's whoever that coach may be. Find a guy that can do that. And I know it's easier said than done, but I support this decision. And while, like you, I was a little surprised, I thought they'd give Arroyo one more year, bowl game or bust. I believe this is the right decision, and now they have to make another good decision and hire a good head football coach. We'll have to wait and see what happens. Mark, it's always a pleasure having you on. Appreciate the time, my friend. And I would assume we will see you out there at Allegiant Stadium on Sunday, right, when the Raiders play host to the Chargers.
I will be out there. Yes, looking forward to it.
Mark, I'll see you out there,
I'll be out there Friday, too, for the Pac-12 championship.
That's right. I'll be there as well. Pac-12 championship. Hey, USC and Utah. This is a heck of a college football game, huh?
Yeah, Utah wants to the whole Pac-12 is cheering against Utah because they want so badly win a team in the playoffs.
Right, that's true. But how fun is it to have this game in Las Vegas? That's why I love living here, as do you, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Well, I guess I'll see you out there Friday. Mark Anderson, thank you so much for joining us, as always. I appreciate you.
No, thanks for having me on, Brian. You take care.
You too. That's Mark Anderson. Thanks. Does a great job writing for the Associated Press. I forgot about the Pac-12 championship. We got the Pac-12 championship right here at Allegiant Stadium on Friday. We got the Raiders coming to town. How fun is that going to be? The Chargers are a good football team, but the Raiders are, hey, they've won 2 games in a row on the road. You got to give credit where credit is due. They beat a pretty good Seattle team. So I think this is going to be a dogfight. I actually think this game against the Chargers, they always seem to have close games. And I think this is going to be a very competitive game. And if Derek Carr can play as well as he played, particularly last week, I think the Chargers could be in trouble. I can't believe Josh Jacobs is having what would you call it? I mean, a career year. But he's the guy's just on fire. I mean, that game last week, he just took over that game. Josh Jacobs has been unbelievable. Max Crosby had a big game last week. Defense left a little bit desired, but they made big plays when they had to, particularly turnovers. Derek Carr's got a little confidence now, so I'm not counting the Raiders out against the Chargers. I'm not. I think they could win this football game, and I think it's actually going to be a good football game. But, going back to what I said earlier about the whole UNLV firing of Marcus Arroyo. I got into it with some people yesterday, some debates, I guess you could call it. The bar is so low for UNLV football. It's so low that you could beat I understand that painting the cannon red is a big deal. It's an in-state rivalry. And even though Nevada-Reno, as Mark said, rightfully so, one of the worst teams in the country this year, I understand it's important that you won that football game. It's the way you won it that was so concerning. I mean, they were one play away at the 3-yard line from beating UNLV. Then could anybody have disagreed with this decision? It shouldn't come down to one play for a coach's job. This decision was made after the Hawaii game. They got embarrassed by, again, one of the worst teams in the country in Hawaii on the road. That was when the decision was made to fire Arroyo. It wasn't, probably not any time sooner or later, but I'm sure Harper said to himself, you start the season 4-1, we got to make a bowl game or we got to make another choice. I'm sure that was his frame of mind. And when Harper came on this show, and I played the audio yesterday, I asked him at the beginning of the year, what are you seeing from this team that's success? He said, you got to show vast improvement from start to end of the year. Obviously, losing 6 of your last 7 games is not a vast improvement. And you can make all the excuses you want about the injuries and Brumfeld getting hurt. The bottom line is you can't lose 6 out of 7, and you can't lose on the road against a terrible Hawaii team and then barely squeak by a terrible Nevada-Reno team at home. The attendance has not been good. Arroyo has literally no personality. He's terrible with the media. And by the way, he's also extremely immature. Like when he got here, he was blocking people on Twitter. I'm not one of those people, but he blocked some members of the media on Twitter. It's like, dude, how are you going to win football games at the Division I level and deal with the stress of that when you can't even deal with a few members of the media saying things about you that may not be positive? So you block them on Twitter? What kind of coach does that? I don't believe Coach Arroyo is fit to be a head football coach anywhere. High school, college, NFL, you name it, anywhere. I don't believe he has the right mindset. I don't believe he has the maturity. I don't believe he has the right personality. I don't believe he has those leadership qualities. I do believe he's fit to be an offensive coordinator somewhere. He obviously did a very good job at Oregon as the offensive coordinator. I'm sure he'll get a gig somewhere very, very soon. Maybe Desiree Reed-Francois will be hiring him as her personal assistant. I don't know. He's going to be just fine. Cry me a river. The guy's getting paid $2.3 million because he lost games here. All right? He lost games here. The guy won 7 games in 3 years, and he's getting paid off $2.3 million to leave. That's a joke. I wouldn't give that guy $1, but hey, obviously has a good agent. That's his contract. That's the way these positions work. You're fired. We'll give you $2.3 million. And by the way, you want to know the difference between a person with some class and a person who has a dodo personality? When Dave Rice was fired, and I agreed with the decision to fire him, but I didn't agree with the timing of it, if you want to talk about timing. I didn't think they should have hired Dave Rice in the middle of the year. That set the program back. Wait till the end of the year. But when Dave Rice was fired, and yes, he got a nice payoff on his contract as well, Tina Kunzer-Murphy firing him at the time when she was the athletic director, Dave Rice did something that not many head coaches do. You know what he did when he was fired? A few hours later, he held a press conference and he answered questions from the media. I was very critical of him. Not personally. Great guy personally. I was critical of his head coaching. He shook my hand. He said, "Thank you, Brian." He shook everybody's hands in the media, and he showed class. Do you think Arroyo would say anything positive about UNLV if he held a press conference right now? I would assure you he probably would not. And that was one of the reasons why his demise, besides the fact that he wasn't winning football games here at the level that Harper wants him to, it was his personality and the way he treated people. And Mark said something that is so true, that there weren't a lot of people that were in his corner within the administration there. There weren't a lot of people that were coming up to bat for him. And he did that to himself. He had this aura around here like he was the national coach of the year when he hadn't done nothing. He's done squat. But yet he conducted himself like he was better than everybody else. Guess what, Coach? You're not. And that's why you don't have a job right now. Because you were not very good at what you did here. Because you didn't do much. You didn't do much of anything. Well, Brian, they won 5 games this year. So what? What's their biggest win? On the road against a 6-6 Utah State team. Okay, not a bad win. Who else did you beat? Idaho State. Give me a break. He doesn't have any signature wins. He deserved to be let go. And I applaud Eric Harper, as I said yesterday, for making the right decision. And I have faith in Eric Harper, and I can't believe I am saying this, but I do, because I hadn't had faith in an athletic director for a very long time at UNLV. I have faith in Eric Harper. He is a business guy. All business. I have faith in him that he will make the correct hire. Now, we'll have to wait and see. But I think he's going to make the right hire. And I believe that was calculated, that he held his press conference when they were painting the cannon red. Almost to say, painting the cannon red against a bad UNR team is not enough. The bar has to be raised. I believe that was kind of like one of those situations where it's a hidden, this is what I'm doing. You know? Good riddance to Marcus Arroyo. Good riddance. Get out of Las Vegas. Get lost. I said the same thing about Desiree Reed-Francois. Get lost. A clueless athletic director. Clueless. Her idea of getting more people in the seats at UNLV basketball games was giving them free tacos. That worked out really well. They didn't even have enough students to hold up every letter for UNLV showing up to games. It's a joke. I believe we have an athletic director now in Eric Harper that knows what he's doing. I believe we have an athletic director that understands what winning football looks like. Why? Because he was a successful Division I football player. He knows what it takes. He goes to practice. He's active. How many practices, I wonder, did Desiree Reed-Francois go to? You know? I believe we have an athletic director with some guts. This was a gutsy decision, and by most standards, it wouldn't be gutsy. It was obvious. But the reason why it was gutsy here is because, and you look at the history of UNLV football, they give coaches a lot more than 3 years. The writing was on the wall, and Harper made the right decision. And good riddance to Coach Marcus Arroyo. Don't let the door hit you on the ass on the way out. You did nothing here. You did nothing for the media. You did nothing for the community. And you did nothing for the UNLV football program. Literally nothing. And I believe the next football coach, I just have a feeling, man, that Eric Harper's going to hire a guy who's going to get it done here. Not going to happen overnight. It'll take several years. I think UNLV football is going to be okay. I can't believe I'm saying that, but this is what I believe. I believe the football program is going to be okay. All right, folks, we're going to take a 22-hour break. And when we come back in 22 hours, Michelle Mortensen's going to be joining us. Always fun having her, the 8-time Emmy winner. I know we're going to get into good discussions with her. I wonder what she thinks about this Donald Trump dinner breaking bread with a known white supremacist and Ye, whatever the hell his name is, Kanye West. We'll talk to her about that. I appreciate my guests for coming in as well. Those two officers, retired police lieutenants, were fantastic, Leonard Cardinale and Will Crespo. All right, folks, thanks for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place. Have a great day.
You're the man who I won't thrill today. You're the soldier with the darkest gaze, jaded from everything that you've seen, but you're the
that reminds you of Brooklyn, that true blue New York style pie. Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super hero, that is.